Greetings! In this video I'm going to walk you through the process of completing the assignment for weeks 3 and 4. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this week's assignment is very cool. We're going to build a website for my friend Bob. Bob is the proud owner of Bob's Rib Shack, a small barbecue joint. He just needs a super simple and clean site to provide information to his customers about his business. So Bob's site has 4 pages. He has an index page, a menu page, a location page, and a blog page. So what we're going to do in this assignment is we're going to actually build that simple site for Bob. And in weeks 5 and 6, you'll expand on the site, adding a couple of interesting elements to it. All right, enough about the intro. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the coding here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my web browser, and I'm going to head out to the assignment web page. There is a file here called content.zip. This holds all of the content for the different pages on Bob's site. So we're going to go ahead and download this content. And I'm going to go ahead and save it to my desktop. Okay. I'm also going to download the potatoes file. And there are a couple different ways to do this. What I did is I just opened the file by clicking on it, then I right click and then go to save image as. And then I'm going to save the potatoes file. Okay. All right, so I have both the content for the site and the image file. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new window here. If I'm using Mac, so I'll open up a Finder window. Windows is similar. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder called Weeks 3 and 4 Assignment, and then my name. So it'd be weeks_3_4_assignment_Todd_Jameson in my example here. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that content file and my potatoes, and I'm going to move them into my folder I just created. Then I'm going to create a new folder inside of that weeks 3-4 assignment Todd Jameson called images. Then I'm going to move my potato file into my images folder. Okay. I'm also going to extract the contents of that contents.zip file. And what you'll see here is that I have all of the content that I'm going to be using for Bob's site. I have a program on my computer for Mac called BBEdit. It's my favorite editor. You can also use TextEdit, or if you're on Windows, you can use Notepad or Notepad Plus or any other text editor of your choice. You definitely don't want to use Microsoft Word because of some of the formatting issues, but any sort of development environment, any sort of text editor should work just fine. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open up BBEdit. And then I went ahead and I created my HTML template that I'm going to use to build Bob's site. So that's already up. I'm going to go ahead and click on File, and I'm going to save this first page as index.html. Okay. Okay. Now I have all of my files ready to go to get started here. The other thing I'm going to do real quick is I want to go ahead and open up my content files. So I'm going to go ahead and click File, Open, go into my content folder I created earlier, and pull up all these content files. That way they're ready to go. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to that index.html file and go ahead and start the process here. So our index page is the home page that customers will see when they go to Bob's website. I need to create 4 total pages. The first one is our index. The second one, if I go to File and Save As, I'm going to call it menu.html. And this is the menu page, which shows some general menu items for sale at Bob's restaurant. Okay. The next one I'm going to create is locations.html. And this page is just a locations page, which shows all of Bob's locations. All right. The next page that I want to create is the blog page, blog.html. Okay. And this is just Bob's blog page, page that he likes to share some of the recipes that he finds interesting. Okay. All right, that should be it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up all of these different web pages. And you'll see that if you're using BBEdit or similar programs, you'll see them off to your left side here. Okay, Notepad Plus shows them across the top, I believe. But anyways, it doesn't matter how it's displayed. You just need to have these web pages set up. Okay, I have one more file to create. And we are going to call this styles.css. Okay. So I'm going to go File and then Save As. And I'm going to call this one styles.css. This is our external style sheet. Okay. All right, so all of our files that we need for this website are created. All we need to do now is just go and put all the code and CSS formatting in here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the index page. And here's what I'm going to do. The very first thing that I'm going to do is start with my style sheet rules. So this website uses CSS and an external style sheet. We've created the file called styles.css. So let's go ahead and set up the rules here. Okay, I'm going to click on styles.css. I'm going to put in my rules. So looks like I want to see his site needs a padding of 5 pixels in a font family of Arial, Helvetica, and sans serif. So the easiest way to do this is to just we're putting in our body here, the rules for that. And we're going to say that it needs padding of 5 pixels. Okay. And our font family that we want is Arial, Helvetica, and finally sans dash serif. Okay, sans serif. Don't forget that one. Okay. There are several different divs in this on his pages. We have one for headers, another one for navigation, and then footers, and then finally content. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and start with our headers. Okay. That header div, what we want to do here is we want to set the color to 990033. Okay, it's kind of a reddish color. If we want to set the font size, we want to double it, so we're going to set the font size to 200%. And we want to give it a slightly different font here, so we're going to set the font family to Verdana, Geneva, and then finally, if that's not available, sans serif. We want to put the text in the middle here, so we're going to do text align of center. And we want 10 pixels of padding because we want to kind of give it some padding from the borders here. And then finally, we're going to set up a bottom border, so border dash bottom of 1 pixel. We're going to make it solid, and we're going to give it the color of 30, 30, 30. Just like that. Okay. Next thing we want to do is set up the formatting for the navigation div. And here we're just going to say that we want our text aligned in the center. So center your text. And we want to do another border at the bottom, same as what we did at the header. So I'm just going to copy the rule here for our header for border and paste it. Okay, pretty simple. For our content div, pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that we're not aligning our text in the center. So we'll remove that rule, but the border stays the same. Okay, so that's how you create the content div. I just did a bunch of copying and pasting. And then finally, the last thing in here for the different divisions is the footer. And with the footer, we want to set basically the same color that we had in the header for the text, and that's 990033. We want to set the font family to Helvetica. And the text align, again, we want to center this, so we'll say text align center. Okay, so our footer's set up. All right, next thing we want to do is start formatting our links. Just putting a quick comment here letting us know that this is our link formatting. Okay, we're saying any kind of link in general here. So it's a:link. We want to format this to have the color of 990033, okay, because we want our links to match our header and footer text colors. Okay. We want to make the background color behind that link to be transparent. Okay, so we don't want it to basically change color as we're clicking on it or if we've clicked on it. We just want it to stay transparent. Okay, so the link looks the same no matter what as far as the color goes. If you hover it over, if you click it, it doesn't turn purple. Okay, and then finally we want to set our text decoration to none. Again, we really don't want any sort of we don't want an underline underneath it, and we don't want our link turning purple. So that's why we put in these two rules right here. We want it to always stay this this kind of maroonish color here. Okay. Okay. We do want to, however, change what happens if a link is visited. Okay. If you hover over it. So what we're going to say is for if a link is visited, we just want to keep the same rules of our standard link. Okay, so all I did is I just copied and pasted the link rules and changed the link here to visited. Okay, all right. Now what we want to do is if we're hovering over the link, we do want to change this up a little bit. So I'm going to say for a link that we hover over, we're going to change our color, and we're going to change that to kind of a grayish color, and that's 303030. Okay. Our background color, we're also keeping it transparent. However, if we are hovering over that link, we want it to go from kind of a regular text to underlined text. Okay, so our text decoration is underlined. All right, so now we have that. And if we are actively clicking on the link, a lot of times that happens so fast that you can't see it anyways. You don't notice the change, but we do need to have this rule in place so it doesn't look funky if you're in the active process of clicking a link. We don't want the user to see any changes. Okay, so we're just going to go and put this rule in anyways. I'm going to copy the rule that I used for hover, and I'm just going to change the word hover to active. Okay. All right. That should be it for the CSS style sheet. So the next thing we're going to do is save our file, okay? And then I'm going to go back to the indexed page, and we're going to start fleshing that out now. Okay. So that should be done. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to heavily modify our index page, and this is going to create a template for all of our other pages. So at the very end, all we really need to do is copy this index page and paste it to the other pages in the text, and then make changes that are individual to those specific pages. So for example, like the things we'll change is definitely change the content, we'll change the title of the page, but stuff like your navigation and your divisions and stuff will all be the same. So here's the real easy way to do this. Okay? The first thing is I'm going to I'm going to use that HTML template file that I had you create in weeks 1 and 2. I've already have it up here on my screen. Okay. We're going to definitely save your template as index.html if you didn't do that already, so we don't accidentally overwrite that template file. We're going to set the title here to Bob's Rib Shack. Okay. Now don't worry, we're going to change this title somewhat for our other pages, but for our index page, you just want it to say Bob's Rib Shack. Okay. We want to create an external link to the styles.css file for your external style sheet that is up here in the head section. The easiest way to do this is just underneath the title, we want to go ahead and create a link. Okay, so the way you do this inside the head section for an external style sheet is it's actually a tag called link. And so it's just you type in link, REL, so for relationship. And we need to tell it what type of link this is. In this case, it's a style sheet. Okay. And then we need to type in href. And that just says, well, where is the style sheet that you're referring to? Okay, where does it exist? In our case, it's styles.css. Okay. And that should be it for the head section. All right. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to create some divisions. So I'm going to go inside the body tag here between the opening and closing body tags, and I'm going to create 4 different divisions. I'm going to create a division called header with an ID of header, another one for nav, another one for content, and a final one for footer. Here's how you do this. You're using what's called the div tag, and then you need to give it an identifier. So it's div ID equals, and then the name of the division. The first one is header, okay? And then what I'm going to do is just do a closing div after that. And then I'm going to copy, paste this line of code. I'm going to paste it 3 more times. And then I'm just going to go in here and change the second one to nav, the third one to content, and the bottom one to footer. Okay. All right, so all those divisions are set up. Give myself an empty space between the opening and closing body tags. Not necessary to do that, but it just makes it a little bit cleaner. Okay. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is, for consistency, is I'm going to set up a comment between each of these divisions. Okay. Both opening and closing. So I'm going to do a comment, and I'm just going to say this. Begin, and then whatever that div is, and then just do an end, whatever the div is. Okay. And I'm going to copy and paste that begin, copy and paste the end as well. And then same with end. You don't have to do this. I just do it because it makes it a lot easier for me to keep track of things. And the nice thing about this is that you always know where your divisions begin and end this way. Okay. So I'm going to say begin header, end header, nav, content, and then footer. Keep in mind, you only have to do this on one page because we're going to do an awful lot of copying and pasting here in a second. So you don't have to type all this in multiple times. Okay, so we make it pretty easy. Okay, so we have our general layout here of how we're structuring this page. What we're going to do now is we are going to start building out our header. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of empty lines here between the opening and closing div here for header. And the very first thing I'm going to type in is Bob's Rib Shack. Okay. And that should do it for your header, because the header will be the same on each page. There's nothing really else that we need to do with our header div here. Okay. In our nav div, what we're going to do here is we are going to build some links. I'm going to go ahead and type in a new paragraph and and then make sure I close it out. And between the opening and closing tags for our paragraph here, I'm going to type in links to our different pages. Okay, so I'm setting up a link, and the first one goes to index.html, and the name of that one, the text we're going to use to reference that, is home. Then I'm going to put in a vertical slash, basically, or vertical tab here between each of these links. Okay. All right, and I have a few more pages I need to do here. All right, the second one is menu.html, and the name of that link is, or the name of that page is menu. Then I have locations, and then finally blog. And after blog, I do not need that that break there. Okay. Remember to reference locations.html and blog.html. Okay. I'm going to kind of clean this up a little bit here. Okay. All right, and that should be it for my links for our navigation. Next thing that I need to do is build up my footer. And again, these are what I'm building right now are the elements in my website that are consistent across all pages in this site. Okay. All right, for my footer, I'm going to just type in this. We need to do a copyright symbol. So I'm going to do a new paragraph. I need it all the way to the left so it'll format properly. I'm going to say ampersand copy, semicolon, 2015, Bob's Rib Shack. All rights reserved. And then close out that paragraph. Okay. So that is the end of my footer. Okay, the only thing that this site doesn't have right now is any content, or this page. And that's okay because we're going to add our content later. Okay. The only thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go up here between the opening and closing div tags for content is just to type in a few spaces, a few empty lines. Okay. And that will let me know that that my content is empty and I need to flesh that in. I'm going to go ahead and save this page, and then I'm going to launch it in my web browser. Just the index page because it's the only one that's built. And here's what I should see is that I should have my Bob's Rib Shack set up for my header, and then my navigation, and then finally my footer. And then if I hover over any links, you should see that they change to underline and the color changes a little bit. Okay. There is something up with my text here for my header that I need to go address real quick. So let's go take a look and see what the issue is there. All right, so my header, the ID looks good. Let's go into my style sheet. My font size, you need to put the % after the 200 there. So you make these videos live, sometimes you make a little goofy, you have to go fix it. So that's the case there. Now let's go refresh and see. Much better. Yay, Bob will be happy that that is Bob's Rib Shack is a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to that index page, and at this point, I am pretty comfortable with that my header looks good, my navigation looks great, my footer looks great. What you'll see here, it might be kind of hard to see on your screen, but you'll see that this line right here between the navigation and the footer divs you'll see that the border there is a little thicker. If we want to test to make sure that our content has proper borders around it, our content div, what I can do is I can just put something like this in. I'm just going to go type in something in content. I'm going to take it back out. I'm just using this for testing purposes. So I'll just say testing 1, 2, 3. Maybe we'll put like an H4 heading in there or something. Okay. It doesn't really matter. You just want to type in some content. It's totally up to you. So I just want to make sure that it works, and it does. You'll see that I have a border on the bottom, border on the top of content here. Okay. All right. Now, don't forget to take that content back out. Otherwise, you're going to have to delete it from every file we're getting ready to create. Next thing I'm going to do is copy all of my code that I just created in the index file, and I'm going to paste it to the other files here. Okay. So for the other pages. So go ahead and copy. If you're using a Mac, you can say Command A and then Command C to copy it. If you're using Windows, it would be Control A and Control C. All right, I'm going to go to my blog page. I'm going to do a Control A and then a Control V, or Command A and Command V to copy and paste. And then I'm going to save the file. I'm going to go to Locations. I'm going to do the same. Okay. And then Menu. Okay. All right. The next thing I'm going to do now that I've copied and pasted all of this stuff is I'm going to go into the I'm going to go in, and there are a couple different ways you can do this. One is you can sit there and build all the content in the different pages and then come back and test it all at once to make sure that your links and stuff work. But what I like to do is once I have these pages set, I like to make sure that my links work from, if I click on index, it goes to the index page. If I click on menu, it goes to the menu page, and so on and so forth. So here's a quick little tip to walk you through that part. Is I'm going to go in and I'm going to go back to my web browser. I'm going to refresh my page, and then I'm going to click on home. I'm going to click on menu, and what you'll see up here is that it indeed has loaded up the menu page, locations page, and then finally blog page. So I know that my links up here work. I'm just testing these to make sure they work. At the end, I'm going to click back on home and go back to the index page. Now let's go back to our code. Next thing we need to do is we need to start building out the content in these pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my index page. I'm going to go into between my opening and closing content div and just make sure my cursor's there. And then I'm going to open up that index content, and I'm just going to copy the content from all the text from that index page content into my index web page. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and deviate slightly from the transcript in that I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste all of the content right away so it's done. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the, so I have index, I'm going to go to the menu content. I'm going to copy and paste all of this content too. Okay, I still need to format it, but that's okay. It just makes it easier to do this copy and pasting. That way I know my content's completely in there. I just need to go back and make sure that, I'm setting up my headings and paragraphs and lists and all that. The next one is locations. Where are you? There you are. This is so much better than having to type all this in. Okay. So locations is done, and then the last one is my blog. Okay. Blog content. There we go. So here, Bob's blog posts. Copy that. Go to my blog. Copy that. Okay. Save all those files, all the web pages, and then I'm going to go back to my web browser, refresh my index page. Don't worry, nothing is actually structured right now, so all you're going to see is a big blob of text across each page. But I'm just checking to make sure that indeed I'm going to my home page, my menu page, my locations page, and blog page, that all of that is working and the content is in those. It's in the correct files. You don't have to do this, but it just helps keep me on track and make sure that that my content is put in there properly. Okay, the first one we want to do is our index page. And inside the content divs, this is where all the work is taking place now, for the most part. What we want to do is we want to, your Welcome to Bob's Rib Shack is an H2 size heading. Okay. When we say thanks for stopping by, that's just a paragraph. When we say make sure to check out our current menu for our daily specials, that is also a paragraph. Okay. For our locations page, it's also a paragraph, but we're going to be putting a link in there as well. And that link goes to the locations page, locations.html. Okay. All right, and then finally we have if they like the food at Bob's, check out our blog page, and that's just a link to the blog page as well. Okay, so for blog, I'm going to just say blog.html, and then it's just a link to the blog page. Okay. And this is also a paragraph here too, so make sure to put that in. Okay. All right, I think that's it for the index page. Okay, let's see. So we're going to save that file, and we're going to make sure that it looks right. Make sure that when I click locations, oh, look at that, that's not working. And our blog page, that's also not working. Did we have, we're missing our open quote. All right, so I got to fix that real quick. That's supposed to autocomplete with this program, but oh well, I guess that's what you get for being a little lazy. All right, so I click locations and I click blog, and both those are linked properly. Okay, so just wanted to make sure those links work. All right, next thing we're going to do is build out our menu. So when we looked at the index page here, we did not change our title, but we're going to do that for all other pages. So so when you click on that page, up here where it says Bob's Rib Shack, if I click on menu, it should say Bob's Rib Shack -menu when we're done coding here. All right, so I'm going to open up the menu file, and up here in title, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say menu, okay? Okay, I'm going to save my file. I'm going to refresh my website. I'm going to click on menu, and what you should see here is it should say on the title, on the top of your browser, it should say Bob's Rib Shack menu. All right. In our content here for our menu, we have several things we need to do. Our menu should be H2 size heading. Our meats should be H3. And then the next one, we'll have a paragraph for we proudly feature these mouthwatering meats. And then an unordered list for ribs, brisket, and chicken. Once I figure out how to type here. Now remember, unordered is UL, ordered is OL for lists. And I'm going to do some copying and pasting here. Just makes it easier. You know what? I'm going to do the same thing for these sides and desserts while I'm at it, and then I'll go back up. What I'm doing here is I'm just minimizing my time because there is no need to sit here and type in LI over and over and over and over again. Can if you want, but I'm not going to, because I value my time a little more than that, I guess. All right, and then finally our drinks. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the open or the close line tag as well. And I'll have to go back in and make those all ordered lists, but you know, it's this is definitely cutting some time off. Okay, let's go ahead and finish those lists real quick. So we'll just say, well, because they're all unordered. And make sure you close out that list. Otherwise, the whole thing will be a list, and that's not good. Okay. All right, so for sides, that's an H3 size heading as well. And you know what we're going to do real quick is we're just going to copy our H3 size heading tag, and we're going to do the same thing for desserts and drinks. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And then remember, you have to close out that H3 size heading. Otherwise, all of it will end up being a big giant heading there. We don't want to do that. All right. So next to sides, we'll close that out, that tag out, copy the tag. Do the same for desserts and drinks. Okay. All right. The last thing we need to do is do a couple paragraphs here for these sides are the best. And then splurge on the sweet stuff. And that's just an open paragraph tag. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy that tag and copy and paste it. And then the last one is quench your thirst with these tasty options. Do that as a paragraph too. Okay, don't forget to close out your paragraph. Okay. Sweet stuff and quench your thirst with these tasty options. Okay. All right, let's double check this, but I'm pretty sure we're done with this page. All right, menu should be done. Let's go ahead and go back to my web browser, refresh menu, and that should look right. And it does. Yay. All right. Okay. Next page is locations. Okay. So we're going to go to the locations file, locations page, and we're going to say this Bob's Rib Shack, and then just say locations. Okay. All right. Go back to your web browser, click on your locations page, refresh it if you need to. And what you should see here is that it's indeed the locations title has been updated. Okay. All right. Locations pretty simple. All we're going to do is this. The easiest way to do this actually is going to be deleting some of this content and copying and pasting. So our locations is an H2 size heading. And drop on by for some good grub is a paragraph. All right, and then we have Bob's North, South, East, and West. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to delete where it says South, East, and West. Don't worry, we're going to recreate this by doing some copying and pasting. But what I don't want to do is type in a bunch of open and close tags. I just want to do that once and then just change where it says North to South and East and West. Okay, so Bob's North, this is just one big paragraph with some line breaks. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an open parent, close parent. Bob's North, I'm going to do a line break after where it says Bob's North. Same thing, North Main, anywhere US, and then after the 555 number. Okay. I'm going to save this file. Actually, Bob's North is a H3 size heading. I apologize for that. That makes more sense. Okay. There we go. Okay, so Bob's North. It's an H3 size heading, and then a new paragraph that just gives the address. Okay, make sure you use line breaks so you don't have big spaces in between everything. There's no need to do a line break at the end of the hours line here because it's going to close out the paragraph anyways. All right, so when I go to my location, make sure I have that H3 is the close tag is set up. Okay, go back to your web page, refresh it, and this is what you should see. So it says Bob's North. Okay. Now, here's all we need to do, because we need to do south, east, and west, is I'm going to copy all the code for Bob's North, and then I'm going to paste it 3 more times. Then I'm going to change the second one is north, and then south. So you say Bob's South, 100 South Main. Bob's East is 100 East Main. See how much easier this is to do than copying it or typing in all those headings and paragraphs. We're just using a shortcut. And then finally, the bottom one is West Main. Okay. All right. Let's clean that up a little bit. Take out that extra space. Okay. Now we're going to go back to locations, and you'll see the locations. I have north, south, east, west. Just make sure that indeed you did type in the right direction here. Okay. Everything else is the same, like the hours and all that stuff. We didn't need to change any of that. Okay. So we're going to save that file, and if it looks good, we're going to open up the blog page and get that one going. Remember, we need to change the title to blog here. Okay. Append that information to show that it's a blog page. Save the file. Go back to your web browser. Click on your blog page. Make sure that the title is changed, and it is up here. Okay. All right. And then our blog page. This one's super simple too. Okay. First one is that for blog, we want to do an H2 size or H2 size heading for where it says blog here. Okay. And then you want a paragraph that says here Bob's latest blog postings. That's just a paragraph. Memphis Ribs is an H3 size heading. By Bob, June 12th, 2015. That's an H4 size heading. So we're just kind of making it look pretty here. And then where it says my friends at the Barbecue Pit Boys, that is just a paragraph. Okay. Forget to close that paragraph. And then Mama's Roasted Potatoes. Basically, it's another blog posting, so that's an H3 size heading. And then the date is an H4 size heading, and then it's also another paragraph. Okay. Now later on, we are going to add a YouTube clip and a to that. But today we're just going to load up our potato image. That's next. Okay, so here's my favorite roasted potato recipe. That's a paragraph. I just can't get enough of these. Close out the paragraph after that. Okay. All right. Now, what we want to do is this. Right after it says, I just can't get enough of these, I want to put in my picture of my potato. So all I'm going to do is do this. Okay. I'm going to do another paragraph. Okay, because I want it on its own line. And then I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to say I have an image. My source is in that images folder that we created earlier. So it's image/potatoes.png. And then just in case the image doesn't load, I want some alternative text. And I want to say, just type in potatoes. Okay. And that's it. Now, here's what I want to do real quick. I want to make sure that that image loaded, even though I'm not quite done with my formatting my content here. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and save my file, open up my web browser, click on my blog page, or refresh it if that's the one that was opened. And I'm going to make sure that everything leading up to that potato image is correct, and it is. Okay. All right. So Mama's roasted potatoes. The potato here where it says Mama's roasted potatoes, that is an H4 size heading. The ingredients, that is paragraph. And then the rest of it here is a unordered list. Okay. And I'll go back in and finish out those LI tags here in a second. For directions, that's also a paragraph. Okay. Okay, and then the directions, however, is an ordered list because we need to make sure that they're following the order. So, for example, you can't bake for 30 minutes if you don't preheat the oven to 400 degrees. You can bake it, but you can bake it at room temperature and it won't bake very well. Okay, so that's an ordered list. All right, now what we're going to do is we're just going to do all of our open LI tags here. I'm going to copy and paste this open LI tag. Save myself a bunch of time that way. And then we'll go in and close them out here in a second. All right, then I'll do my closing LIs. Okay. That one's done. And so much faster this way. All right. Now, let's go ahead and save our file. And we want to go ahead and reload the page. Okay. Wow, look at that. Looks great. Now, the very last thing we do, and this is always good practice when you're coding, is you want to go through and look at every page and make sure that they're all loading correctly and that they look good. The content doesn't have a bunch of spelling errors. You don't have any weird fonts. Everything looks great. And from what I can tell, this actually looks really good. So, all right. Well, that was a pretty long video, but as you can see, it took me about 50 minutes to do this assignment. So, you know, if it takes you a little less time than that or takes you longer than that, hey, that's okay. You just do the best that you can. If you get stuck on anything with doing this assignment, just let me know and I'll walk you through everything. And, you know, at the end of the day, we will definitely make sure that you get it done. So anyways, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you very much for watching.